I see all my friends in here and all the different pets, and I see a former head of education here, Bill Donnelly. And I remember it was a few years ago that he was running a pets, and he told me that, the most important thing is to focus and to focus on a few things and not try to do too many things. Because he taught me, like many of you have taught me, other things. Bill taught me that if you focus on 12 priorities, maybe you will only get 6 and you'll be disappointed. But if you focus on just a few, you won't be disappointed because you accomplish those and you accomplish so many things working with others. So why do I bring that up? Because I was asked to talk on the action plan today, and it's for strategic priorities. This is the focus of our current president of Rotary International. So I want to give you a little bit of a history, but feel free to interrupt me anytime. You won't be interrupting. Ask any question you want along the way. You don't have to hold it to the end. And I'm happy to talk about it. But I don't want to focus just on history and just what was. I try not to say strategic plan because people's eyes glaze over. I try to say action plan because we are people of action. And I would rather talk about concrete things that our clubs can do to make Rotary grow and thrive than talk about theory. So that's the plan for today. And I hope we reach that. And if we don't, let me know and I'll try to reformulate. So I put together a little PowerPoint. Can you all see that? Okay, great. So what is the Rotary Action Plan? Well, it's interesting. We have a committee. Rotary is run by committees, and we have a strategic plan committee. And a while back, they put together an action plan, but they did it not by talking to just Rotarians or just themselves. They talked to many people. And they wanted to come up with a plan that would actually make sure that Rotary would thrive in the future. So they conducted a bunch of surveys, over 1 million different surveys. They had over 75,000 respondents, but they didn't stop there. They had focus groups and interviews because, for years when we do our trainings and we do our learning experiences, we were relying on the three-legged stool. We talk about membership, we talk about foundation, we talk about public image. This Rotary Action Plan goes a little bit deeper in the areas we need to do to get our members more engaged so that we can grow as Rotary. And of course, they talk to countries. So long story short, they have an overall view of what we were doing. So they came up first with a vision statement. And this is what we want to be as Rotary. This is what we look for. This is what we want our organization to do. And our vision statement says that together we, and that's the two most important words to me, we do it together. One person can do some things, but together we can do so much. But together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities and in ourselves. And I'm sure that's hold true with all of you. It's hold true with me. But how do we actually accomplish that? Well, we do it through 4 different ways, and these are called our 4 strategic plan priorities. So when we do a curriculum, and Deb's been doing such a great job with the Pets Alliance, because if we want, let's face it, Rotary does not happen on the 18th floor of Evanston. I have a little desk in the president's office, and I can tell you it doesn't happen there. It happens in our clubs with our club members. That's why I applaud each and every one of you, all of you friends that I have here on the screen, for all you do to get our club members involved and to train our president so they can get our club members involved. But the 4 ways we do it are we try to increase our impact. We're going to talk a little bit about each of these. We try to expand our reach, enhance participant engagement. And when we talk about participants, we're not talking about just our members, not just the Rotarians, not just the Rotaractors. We're talking about anyone that we engage with when we do what we do, the people we serve, the people in our Rotary Community Corps. It was mentioned youth exchange. It's not just our club members who are hosting, it's the other host families that are club members. It's the Rotex, it's the students themselves. And then the last is increasing our ability to adapt. And I want to talk about generally what they are and let you know what Rotary says about them. But then I want us all to talk about the things we can really do at the club level where the rubber meets the road that can actually make some changes in Rotary. So the purpose of the action plan, why do we do it? We want Rotary to grow. It's interesting because we're always saying grow Rotary. But the reason we grow Rotary is because we want to get the more hands and hearts to do the service. Let's face it, nobody joins Rotary to do nothing. They join Rotary to do things. And people join for different reasons. And Rotaractors join for different reasons and Rotarians, but they all want to serve in some way. So by growing it, we get to do more service. But around all of this is what's called the club experience or culture. So we need to remember when we're talking about this, we need to make sure that our clubs are something that people want to belong to. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk about why. But first, let me show you this video to talk a little bit about impact.
Real impact is growth and change that's sustainable long after we have left the scene. As Rotary, how will we do it? We are encouraging clubs to focus their efforts on a few key areas rather than trying to do too many projects. Think about ways you can build on your community's key strengths, do some smart risk-taking, and look for areas where targeted, concentrated work can create a cascade of change. We are creating a culture of measurement in Rotary. By measuring, tracking, and analyzing what we do, by using data and metrics, we can be smarter about what we need to continue doing, start doing, and stop doing. We all know the importance of data in our professional lives and how essential it's been to our progress in polio eradication. But it's also essential to the future of Rotary. Major funding agencies demand evidence and proof of impact. Young people, the future of Rotary, have grown up asking institutions and organizations for greater accountability and transparency. That's why Rotary is identifying consistent best practices for assessment and measurement. Rotary's action plan. What will our legacy be?
So when we're talking about impact, impact really is all about measurement. Matt Adler, do you remember when Ian Risley was president? Yeah. What did he ask us all to do?
If I recall, it was about planting trees, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're absolutely 100% correct. So the planting of the trees is important. And, measuring the number of trees, that's kind of the outcome. That's important. But what's really important is the impact. We actually have to tell people that we're ending deforestation, that it's increasing the oxygen in the community. A lot of us say that we're Rotary members, but we first became a Rotarian when we went on our first international trip. So I remember my first international trip to do a service project was to Honduras. And when we go there, first you go to the projects, at least in our trip, we went to the projects that had already been completed. Rotarians built out wells, and they have little kids, little girls in bright colored dresses, dancing with little boys with all cowboy hats, with all this music and everything. It feels good because they have the restrooms, they have the clean water. Then you start going to the villages and you start seeing the projects that you're going to work on. And I remember being there and seeing a mother holding her baby, and the baby was crying. And all she can say was, I lost my first baby. And then you find out that the infant mortality rate in that village where we haven't either done the well or done some kind of filtration system is 85%. So 85% of those babies are dying because they're drinking bad water or they're eating food that was grown with contaminated water. So they get diarrhea and they don't ever stop having diarrhea and they die. So the impact is getting that 85% infant mortality rate down to 25%. And then when we get that story, we tell all the people that you're training and all the people that you're educating, we talk to our project partners, and that's how we have greater impact. And, we've done it well in some areas. And I think, the best area is polio. I mean, we are the world's premier service organization. I mean, there's people talking about nominating Rotary for the Nobel Peace Prize, and you'll all be a part of that when we eradicate that. But I mean, if you look at the partners we have with Bill and Melinda Gates and so many different things. And we are making progress at Rotary. Because if you think about it, when we all started Rotary, we had the matching grants, right? And then we found out we needed sustainability. So we moved over to the global grants. And now we have these grants of scale. And it's amazing. And we don't have time to talk about all of them, but to think about the first one, it's eliminate malaria in a whole country. Well, we're doing that by partnering up with other people, such as World Vision. And World Vision's a great nonprofit. It has more money than us, but we have 1.4 million Rotarians, like all of you. Thank you for giving your time on a Saturday to listen to this, and hopefully we can engage. So we are making steps in this area. So let's tell our people about impact and not just focus on outcomes. And let's make sure that we do the measurement in our club projects, in our district projects, and our international projects. So let's first hear about what the next strategic plan priority is about, the official Rotary word I like to say, and then we'll talk about how we can actually use it.
At Rotary, we're committed to making people feel welcome and at home in our clubs, programs, and within our leadership. As an organization that is creating stronger communities worldwide with members in all corners of the globe, Rotary has a responsibility to lead the way. We're exploring and evaluating new participant models so that people can join and take action with us in more convenient ways. We're bringing in outside help, collaborating with local experts on diversity, equity, and inclusion training. It's a great way to forge new kinds of partnerships. And we're being more intentional about giving all members meaningful ways to connect, including them in club planning and decision making, and valuing their contributions. We believe that bringing people together to share different backgrounds, perspectives, and experiences helps us unlock potential and discover new solutions. Now, let's make good on that promise. Let's share our values with other audiences, create new ways to bring people together, and prove we are an organization that's inclusive, engaging, compassionate, and ambitious. Rotary's Action Plan. How can we inspire more people to connect and take action with us?
So this is talking about expanding our reach. And we think about expanding our reach. Yes, it's the things that Deb mentioned. It's the forming the new clubs. It's the making sure we attract members. But there are things that we can do that'll make our clubs more exciting to expand our reach. Bill Stevens, you know how it is when we have, yes, sir, when we have those club members who they stop coming to our meetings, they stop coming to the socials, and they kind of get disengaged. Well, we can expand our reach in our clubs by doing things as simple as, starting a new program. In our district, we brought together 5 clubs to do a RCC. And that RCC is a community corps, Rotary Community Corps. And what we did is we saw that the Afghan refugees in our area weren't being served. So what we did is we brought these 5 clubs together, and it didn't take a lot of money because all we did was meet every couple of weeks at the community center, which was for free. And we asked the refugees, hey, what do you need in order to make your life, as our new neighbors, make your lives better? And it's interesting because, of course, they needed jobs. But to get jobs, they needed driver's license. But in Minnesota, the driver's license manuals were not translated into Pashtun and Dari. And Google Translate didn't do that. So luckily, a new member of my club, a friend of mine who I brought in, worked for a hedge fund, and he had software that would translate. So we worked with the community because in a Rotary Community Corps, it's got Rotary members who are working with non-Rotarians, but they partner up in this community corps. And it was great because people started coming every couple of weeks. The people who we translated driver's manuals for, they actually got their driver's licenses, they got jobs, they started sending money back home. So we were making positive peace around the world in our own backyard, and it wasn't hard. But what we found out is our local clubs that were involved with this, they started to grow. First of all, we thought that we might get some new members once the refugees got jobs, but we didn't an unintended consequence was some of our members who had drifted away from our clubs because they were getting tired of the same old service projects because we weren't doing something new, really got involved with this. And we had people who owned hotels and landscaping business and manufacturing. They would come to the meetings. They would find good employees. Our mayor started coming in. State officials started coming in. And it's funny, I invited a librarian who was one of my friends that brought in from my church into my club. And she loved it because it's interesting because when you're forced to move out of your country and move to a new place, you don't have a place to live. And when we get you a place to live, they don't have internet, but the library card gets you free internet. So everybody had a part, and Rotary reputation grew from doing all that. So that's just one simple example, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. But think outside the box and see what we can do. So let's talk about increasing participant engagement. This is a big deal in Rotary. The budget for Rotary, which is a large budget, they reallocated $20 million into be a participant-centered approach department. And it includes things such as the website and how we interact. So this is a focus that Rotary has. So let's see what they have to say about this.
Want everyone who attends Rotary to feel good about the experience and stay connected. We enhance participant engagement when we meet people where they are. It means being proactive, finding out what matters to them and how they want to be engaged. That's how we become a participant-centered organization. Participants encompasses all Rotary members and all others who engage in Rotary activities, like family members, partners, alumni, and others from the community. So how do we become more participant-focused? 2 words: listen and respond. Ask participants if Rotary is meeting their expectations, how they are hoping to connect and grow through Rotary, what new skills or experiences they want to gain, and how they would like to contribute to creating change in the world. What kinds of projects interest people, and what your community would like to see from Rotary. So listen to what they say and make delivering on those expectations a priority and your club's goal. That's how we make sure people feel seen, valued, and heard. Because when we do, people will join Rotary and stay, so we can do even more real and lasting good in the world. Rotary's action plan. What would improve your Rotary experience?
So when I think about enhancing participant engagement, what I think about is listening to people. And whether we do a survey or just talking to people. I remember when Bill Gormit, when I was a DGN and he was training me how to be a governor. And Bill, you'll be proud to know that I'm going to be doing training DGNs in my zone this coming up here at my institute. So
congratulations. Good job, Tom.
But Bill always made you feel like you're a part of it. Because let's face it, Rotary's a business like any other business. And if we give people what they want, they'll stay, they'll be excited, they'll bring their friends. But if we don't give them what they want, they're going to walk. So it may be as simple as just asking them, do you like our socials? Do you like where we meet, when we meet, how we meet? Do you want to do something different? And then if we ask them what they want, and they're going to feel like they're being listened to. But if we actually implement some of those things, they're going to be happy. And this is where that club culture comes in. People really don't leave Rotary International. They're invited into a club and they leave a club. And sometimes they only know that experience of what they see in their club. They don't know we have action groups and that we have fellowships and that we can ride the Rose Bowl parade float, or you can go to IA and you can be a paid observer to that, or our council on legislation. And that's why I'm so glad that you do what you do with this leadership group, because you tell everyone about those things and they can realize, hey, if you're not happy in a club, there's other places you can go. And sometimes we need to share that there's a bigger perspective, a whole international perspective for it. So the last thing that we want to talk about is our ability to adapt. And let's listen to that and talk about it for a little while.
To be leaders in this time of accelerating change, we need to become more agile and responsive to what's relevant to communities. It's a big opportunity for Rotary and for all of us who are proud to be people of action. We can look at how our ability to communicate effectively, share resources, work collaboratively, and make decisions might be challenged by our operations or structures, we're working on streamlining our structure to fix the disconnects between clubs, districts, zones, and headquarters. We're discovering more of what's possible when we work together, not just as a collection of clubs, but a true global network of change makers. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. We can collaborate, partner, and be the place that connects people and organizations to get more accomplished. What can you do? Take a fresh look at your club. Is it time to peel away some of the layers you've added over the years and simplify how you operate? Invite community leaders outside of Rotary to your club board meeting to offer a new perspective. Adapting is also looking for new ways to collaborate with these partners who share our values and commitment, but who can challenge and help us innovate and grow more. Rotary is embedded and trusted within communities. It's what attracts potential partners who want to work with us. When we embrace opportunities to streamline, imagine, and invigorate, we'll see we can stay true to ourselves and stay ahead of change. Rotary's action plan. How can new perspectives strengthen Rotary?
So, Janet Trujillo, what do you think about adapting for change, and how can we actually include this when you go forward with your programming?
Wow, that's a big question. We can't be that person who says, well, we've always done it that way. We just can't be that. My husband has a new pin that has an arrow through, the slash through it that says, we've always done it that way. So you have to be open to new ideas, any new member that comes in. You've got to find out what their passion is, what their idea of Rotary is, and adapt to that.
You are so right. And it's hard, right? Because, if you're a president of a club, you want to make sure that everything goes right. And I know every couple of years I get a call from the incoming president of my wife's club, and they said, we want to do away with the gala because, they raise a lot of money, and that's the money that they give to the local organizations. I want to change something. I want to get in food trucks instead of having the gala. But people are always afraid to make that change because they don't want to be the one who's blamed for the year they didn't have the gala and they lost money. So we need to encourage everyone to go out and make that change and not worry about the ramifications. We were talking about what was going on with the grants and how we're the premier service organization. The only way that we stay that way is if we actually engage our members into doing things, but we have to innovate. I mean, right now there's a group of people from around the world who are coming together to form a Rotary Action Group for Artificial Intelligence. It goes to Programs Committee in September and then goes to the board in October. Just think if we had this, there's ways that we can actually maybe do our assessments of what's needed for the grants through this artificial intelligence. Maybe there's a way to write those grants a little bit easier using that. But we gotta not be afraid to change. We gotta make sure that we go through our corporate government documents at the clubs and see what no longer applies. Maybe we don't need to take attendance anymore. And that's all the way up through the board level, the trustees. We gotta make sure that we are always looking at new and better ways of doing it. So if we do all those things, those four simple things, like Bill Gorman says, focus on those four priorities, we will grow and good things will happen. And, Rotary has so many good tools. We have good tools in membership. We have good tools in the strategic planning area. And these are the tools in the strategic planning area, different kinds of surveys and things like that. Anything you need, we can find. But we need to make sure that the people who you're educating and learning are learning from you. They know where these tools are. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so we can take some questions if you have any.
Questions for Tom? Anybody?
Greetings, Tom. This is Hector Ortiz.
Hey, Hector,
Nice
how
to
are
see
you? Great to see you again.
I had a question. I was in Singapore in the convention, and I had the opportunity to attend this one-day workshop on positive peace. And I'm going to be a little more involved in positive peace. I'm going to Chicago to do the activator of peace, which is a high opportunity to become like train the trainer. And the question is, I see in any example that you mentioned today, the concept of positive peace. It's not just changing and giving water. Is what we are doing really is creating an environment of positive peace. So the question is, how do you see positive peace in grants? How do you see positive peace in engagement? How do you see positive peace in impact?
I'm so glad you asked that question. You know, positive peace is so important, and it's important to our current president. You know, her first initiative is to invoke this action plan so we can grow Rotary. But her second is healing a divided world. And you can't turn on the news without realizing we need positive peace. And of course, positive peace is more than just the absence of war. It's making conditions right so that we don't have to have any more war. And if you look at our areas of focus, all of them lead to positive peace. So what we're trying to do is, first of all, we have for February 20th to 22nd of 2025, Hector, we have a peace conference in Istanbul. We have a new peace conference, a new peace program at Bahçeşehir University in Istanbul. The first class is graduating in February. That's when we're having it there. We're inviting back our peace fellows, all 1,800 of them. We hope that many can come. We're inviting the trustees, we're inviting the directors. There'll be programming there, Hector, if you want to go, on various themes. And the themes that they have are sustaining peace, how to have peace, even though the environment will cause many people to be in a situation where there may be wars started because of that. And how we can use technology to increase peace. Now, if everyone could take the Peace Activator course, Hector, that's a real positive thing that we can do. It's easy to do. One thing that President Stephanie is pushing on is the Peace Pole Initiative, where we actually go into local communities. And I did this during my district conference when I was district governor. We planted a peace garden with 88-foot trees, and we had a pole there. And the pole had the languages of all the different residents in that area. And this is a area that was close to where George Floyd was murdered, which was 8 miles from my house. So we thought we needed to do something to encourage peace. But you know what we did was we brought in outside facilitators, the Equity Innovation Center out of North Carolina, because after George Floyd was murdered, we actually had riots that caused $250 million of property damage. Lake Street was basically burned to the ground. So we had 12 facilitations. We did them online because this was during COVID. But then after that, when we decided what the communities, after asking them what they needed, we partnered up, Hector, with different Rotary clubs would partner up with different businesses. And there were federal dollars to help with the rebuilding that they needed because we had lots of immigrants that weren't used to dealing with business the American way, like buying insurance. And they needed help with marketing and technology and human resources and legal. So our Rotarians offered their consulting services. And it was interesting because we started eating downtown in those areas at their restaurants and using their postal businesses. They started coming to our galas. And, you know, we really felt that there was a really bonding of two different communities, not just the interior city, but the suburbs. And that all came, it wasn't termed positive peace, but that's what happened out of it. So anything that we do working towards getting people together, making people feel like they belong, helps towards that positive peace. Thank you for the question.
Other questions, anybody?
I have a comment. Joan Arsenault, District 7930. Thanks for coming, Tom. I just wanted to say I'm really happy that you're looking at AI and the foundation grant process, particularly for the global grant. I was on a call the other day at the zone level, and I know Marty Hellman had talked that they're looking to try to streamline that global grant process. Having been involved in writing them, having trying to help other clubs write them in districts, and currently involved in writing a global grant for over in the cleaning up the Nairobi River over in the Kibera, I know I say it wrong, Kibera slum area. It's quite daunting. And so I really would like to see that shift. And yes, we need to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's and keep that 4-star navigator. But it is daunting if you've not done it before. And I find some people getting discouraged to follow through. And I think the foundation is just the meat and potatoes of who we are. And we've got to be able to support clubs and districts to be able to do this in an easier fashion. So thank you that you guys are looking into AI. I think that's kind of cool. I'd love that tool if you want to do any, but if you want to try something out, I'm in, as I'm in the process of writing a grant now. And I want to add to that the power of Rotary you talked about in terms of relationships. I mean, we're working with Ecologists Without Borders. I'm working with engineering group. And I've also just been, we'll be in contact with UN Habitat, and we've got boots on the ground. So it's all kind of coming together with other partners that are excessively important for us to be able to engage and do this important work. So thank you.
Thank you. And I wrote your name down and I'll get it to the AI people.
Bernadette?
Yes, thanks. I'm actually a veteran and very interested in the veteran cause clubs because I do think veterans have a Rotary heart that is very similar. And I think that is a great way that we can provide service, but also expand our reach and to other like-minded people. So could you just talk a little bit more about the concept of the cause-based clubs and how they work?
Well, Bernadette, thank you so much for asking that question, because I remember years ago, 8-10 years ago, whenever I'd bring up cause-based clubs, people would say, oh, no, it doesn't work. There would be this political group and there would be that political group. Well, finally, after all these years, the idea is catching on and it's going well. And you're absolutely right about veterans. And the key is it's not a club that is exclusively made up and composed of veterans. It's to serve veterans. It's all about service. So it is Rotary. And it's interesting because over the years, we hear, that the typical year, we lose a lot of members. We bring a lot of members into Rotary, and then we lose a lot of members. And we lose about 10% in our first year. And by the third year, we lose 50% of our members. So if we bring in 150,000 every year, we lose about 160,000. And why is that? It's because those individuals who are leaving, they didn't feel comfortable where they were. So why not start a new club where they can have their own culture that fits where they are? And, the veterans, they do things differently. And when you start a club, it's really important to put their goal first because, Rotary has a lot to offer. We have district grants and we have international grants. But when we first started talking to the veterans, they were a little bit suspicious because they were like, well, you just want us for our people. You just want us for our money. So you have to put their cause, serving veterans, first. And when they realize that their cause is first, they started hearing about how we were part of the UN. We sat down in the basement of a church, not that we're a political organization, but it was a free space. And we asked them, we had brought in a facilitator to facilitate what's important to you as veterans if you were starting a club. And it was, well, we want to serve other veterans. A lot of them belong to different organizations and different places where they can go and have a drink with someone, but they weren't actually serving veterans, which is what they wanted to do. They wanted to work towards peace. They wanted to work towards camaraderie. Well, their 4 goals lined up basically with what Rotary International does. So we said, what do you want to do? And they said, well, there's Haven for Heroes. It's a group of buildings that are homes for homeless vets. And they wanted to do a grant that would redo the first floor of one of these buildings to be a place where people can get together to play foosball, darts, poker. Because, when you're in the service, you have somebody who's always watching your back. Sometimes you come back to a place or come to a place where you don't feel that anyone has your back anymore. So that camaraderie is important for suicide prevention and other things. So we got them formed. And you're right, Bernadette. They are, in our clubs, at least here, they're the first person to come to an event. They're the last person to leave. And so what are their service projects? They built that homeless. And it was great because they do things differently than I do. Because like when I'm doing a grant, I go to other, Rotary clubs. They went to the Elks and they went to the Lions, and they got money from all of them. So we had $20,000. We redid that. But now they partner up with other clubs to do projects. They're on their 18th. They've been around for about 4 years now. They're on their 18th blood drive. That's very important to them. They get together with other clubs during the holidays and they write cards to active military. And the cities around our area and around the state that have veterans memorials, they go around and clean those up. So there's ways for them to partner. So they are Rotarians. They're doing the 5 avenues of service. They do Toys for Tots for kids, but it's people serving the way they want to, when they want to. I mean, there's so many people of action around the world. If we could just reach out to them and say, Rotary can get you these grants and you can serve when you want to, where you want to, the way you want to. When we started, Deb was kind of mentioned our club to end human trafficking. When we first, it's a virtual club, but they do their projects in person, but they have members all around the world. When we were doing the swearing in for that club, after I was done, I got an email from the then sitting president, Mark Daniel Maloney. And Mark Maloney said in his email to me, he said, that was my sister you just sworn in. And I've been trying to get her into Rotary for 40 years, 4 decades, but she didn't have a club that she wanted to be in because she wanted to focus on that one area, which is ending human trafficking. And she was living in Turkey, but she was teaching American history, so she could only go to online meetings. She couldn't leave school during the day. So what we found out is, certain people, especially younger people, they want to have impact, but they want to have great impact in one area, like the environment. They don't want to, I'm in a traditional club, and we pick up trash along the highway. We make sandwiches, we pack turkeys at Thanksgiving. We do all that stuff. And my generation, it's great. But if I go to my son and say, join Rotary, pick up trash, he might not want to do that because he might want to focus on the environment, which he does. And now he's going off to college on Sunday, our one and only son, and he's going to revive the Twin Ports Rotaract Club that went away during COVID. And he's all excited. And he comes to my Rotary Club, but he doesn't want to serve in that way. He wants to serve it, and his friends want to serve in their own way. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but it's a really important question, Bernadette. Thank you for asking it.
Thanks, Tom. Are there questions for Tom this morning? Tony?
Hi, Tom. This is Tony McAndrew from Pennsylvania. If you could just spend 1 minute and address the regionalization pilot program.
Okay, so there are 2 regionalization programs going on now that I'll try to do in a minute. One is in Australia, New Zealand, and those islands. The other one is in Rotary Great Britain and Ireland. They're approached in 2 different ways. Rotary in Great Britain and Ireland is trying new club models where they have different types of ways to join Rotary. They have an experience that's called the Hub, where you don't have to belong to a club, but you can just join Rotary. And then if you want to specialize, you can do that. It's on a Microsoft Meets platform. Then they're experimenting with enterprise clubs where you go into an organization, let's say Rolls-Royce, and you say, we want every employee or as many as possible who can join, and we'll do Rotary at your corporation. So that's the way they're approaching it. In Zone 8, in New Zealand and Australia, the way they're trying to do it is changing the governance where they try to make the structure more flat. So they have people working on membership, but it won't be your membership chair, your district membership chair, your Rotary coordinator, and so on. Both are pretty new. Both have been funded. In October, they come to the board for more funding, and they'll give reports. There's been some success, but the important thing is whenever we have a pilot project like that we actually learn from it. So if there's things that we can glean to make the world have more Rotary clubs in it, then we will do what we can to learn from them. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Bill Stevens?
Yes. Hey, Tom. Good to see
Hi.
you.
Good to see you.
My question was also on the regionalization pilots, but I wanted to, mine's a little more targeted on the Zone 8, the Australia, New Zealand. Are you familiar with the program, the Fit for Purpose program inside of that Mark Huddleston and the crew?
I am not. Can you tell me about it?
So they put out a call zone wide for 100 clubs to commit to a new program, taking something we talked about a few minutes ago, change in that word that none of us like, to the nth degree. And I'm going to type in the website here in a minute in the chat so people can have it. And I encourage you to take a look at this. But this is, they ask clubs to fill out a partnership agreement. Obviously, each club has to cost money. They're committing to a program. They're going to end up with, one-on-one coaching. It's a massive. It's absolutely everything. I'm a total change maker. I believe if you don't question every single last thing, then you are questioning nothing. I wish I could fly to Australia in October and attend this, but my governor's schedule won't allow it this year. But I think it's important for all of us as people that are training others to be aware of this, because I think it's really the next phase. So I'm going to share that copy that website for people to take a look at.
That's wonderful. Thank you. They're doing good work there, and they're working hard.
Other questions from anybody? Saying, Tom,
Barry,
please.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want to sum up a little bit here before we lose Tom. I know that there's a quote from the Edina. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Edina Rotary Club, that Tom goes above and beyond for our community. I'm going to extend that and say that he goes above and beyond for all communities. And then there's another little quote that I found that says, Tom continues to say yes to leadership opportunities. And I personally have witnessed that, because Tom is going to be the chair of Multi-District Pets Alliance in 25-26. And we're operating very much as a team. So I appreciate your willingness to say yes. And then I live by this thing. There's a joke about me that they don't know how old I am, and they're still trying to figure it out. But I live by the quote that if you're all done changing, you're all done. And so I'm going to just keep changing and let you keep guessing. But as far as impact goes, there's a quote about Tom that he goes beyond the established paths. And I have to thank him for that. And I think we all owe him a big thanks, because I think this is the most that we've ever known about what's going on in the world with Rotary. And he shares it all. So thank you. And thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Deb. And I
I'll
wouldn't
turn it
agree,
over to you.
and I would not have agreed to be ahead of Pets Alliance unless you were going before me and making it all right. So
We're working on it. Sherry?
Okay, Tom, I just want to say thank you for taking your Saturday morning to share with us this morning. But some things you talked about, we work with the Rotary leadership in our sessions. We are not teaching Rotarians. We use Rotarians who've taken things from a learning center and they've implemented them and able to say as far as what worked well, suggestions for improve. So what you've given us today is really important, and we really appreciate the time you spent with us here this morning on a Saturday morning. Thank you, Tom, and you're welcome to stay or you're welcome to leave. Your choice.
Well, thank you so much. I've been honored to be here. It's great to see all of my friends on the screen and meet some new ones. I do have a 10 o'clock, so I will run. But if you need me or need President Stephanie, let us know. Executive Director Deb knows how to get a hold of us. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Tom. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.